This is Group AO2's presentation on the Internet of Things. So the Internet of Things is the interconnection via the Internet of computing devices embedded in everyday objects, enabling them to send and receive data. And in this presentation, we're going to talk about a couple different types of IoT and their devices and how they've helped and how they've impacted society over the years. So first off, we'll talk about IoT devices at home and their effects. Most importantly, their convenience, efficiency, and security. So overall, IoT home devices, like smart devices, can assist in a multitude of ways with data analysis, security, efficiency, and an overall easier home life. So for example, we have like the Ring doorbells that can stream live video to computers, phones, tablets, no matter where we're at. And all the devices are connected, synced up to the internet, and providing real-time data to each other. And it can make things easier living at home because instead of having to manually adjust settings in our house, things can, through data analysis, things like temperature can be controlled automatically. And it's estimated that by 2025 there will be over 75 million IoT devices in use. So overall convenience, as previously stated, we also have devices like Alexa and Google Home that can be synced to other devices in our house, like temperatures, thermostats, lights, fans, alarms, etc. And these things can all be controlled straight from a smart house, or a smartphone, or a tablet when someone is not home, and can be used to adjust temperatures, turn off lights, dim lights, or prepare things for when people get home at the end of the day. And like I said, this can be used to store to get data that's being used every day by these devices, and it can be used to match daily routines and behaviors of the user. So for efficiency, overall these will consume less energy and can be connected to smart grids that are being developed in cities. And so basically all the devices will be, like in a smart house, how they're all synced up, will be synced up throughout city grids and can be better controlled with like electricity and such. So for example, lights can be dimmed or turned off when no one is in a room, and this can be something that can be learned by the devices, and it can gauge when there's activity in a room and know when to stay on or off. Thermostats can automatically adjust to weather or inside temperature. Another thing with machine learning and adaptation, it can get the temperatures from inside and outside and will adjust the temperatures for the thermostat based on the real-time data it's receiving. And also they can be powered with solar energy, which conserves electrical energy and is also more useful to help the environment by cutting down on carbon footprints. So for security, the products like the Ring can give live video feed to your phone, so you can watch your front porch and your front yard, and they can also be synced up to alert police of suspicious activity automatically, or if you see something yourself, you can report it. Similar with the emergency services, if there's a fire, carbon monoxide levels, or potential fire hazards, it can automatically alert fire departments, ambulances, if there happens to be a issue in the house.
Alright guys, now we're going to talk about the effects of the Internet of Things in law enforcement. 3 subjects we're going to go into are the wearables for law enforcement, crime detection, and evidence gathering. We're going to start off with the effects that the Internet of Things has on the wearables for law enforcement, and one wearable that law enforcement has is their body-worn video cameras that have audio as well. And the effects that this has is that it records exactly what is happening at the scene that law enforcement is called to, and these cameras have actually improved law enforcement behavior, which, in fact, it's because they know that everything is being recorded, and this recording can be used for training purposes or when there is an allegation against the officer. And another effect that this has is that it also records the vital signs of the officer, such as blood pressure and heart rate. And if there's something unusual with this data, it alerts the dispatcher, which then the dispatcher can make the decision of alerting a nearby unit to go over there and check out the situation with the officer. Another effect that the Internet of Things has on law enforcement is in their crime detection. And some of the devices that are used are security systems, home sensors, and or alarms that are installed in homes, which enables law enforcement to know the location of a suspect and what they are doing at the time. As we see here in these two pictures with Ring, as Nate mentioned earlier, it can be used for police detection and stuff like that. And an example of these situations is such as when a homeowner is away and there's an alert movement on the Ring camera, the homeowner can then see live footage from their phone, which at times there may be just a neighbor trying to say hi, but there are also times when there may be someone trying to get into the home and break in, and this can help the homeowner scare them away by talking through their camera. Or the homeowner can simply just call law enforcement and inform them of the current crime occurring, and the video recording of these Ring cameras can be later sent to the law enforcement in order to be used as evidence against the criminal. Moving on, we're going to talk about the effects of the Internet of Things on evidence gathering for law enforcement. And one way this affects is by the phones, just generally your cell phones providing location data to law enforcement. And one way that law enforcement can use cell phones is by using the cell phone towers to pinpoint a location of a cell phone that may belong to a criminal. Another way is by the GPS records on vehicles, and simply just by video cameras, which they can record a crime at all times. Nowadays, there's video cameras everywhere, public and private areas. And one example that I found of evidence gathering is when there was a murder in 2015, where a husband had hired two people to kill his wife while he was away. And this plotting consisted of burner phones and a rental vehicle. The detectives were able to gather the evidence through the rental car's GPS records, which tracked the movement of the two men that were being charged in the case. Obviously, these men didn't know how to get to the person's house, so they entered in the address into the GPS system, which clearly it stays there, the data is recorded and everything. So the evidence that the law enforcement was able to gather by the GPS technology installed helped them place the killers at the scene, which they were able to use this evidence against them in court. Moving on now, we're going to talk about the effects of the Internet of Things in government. One thing we see here is that the Colorado River Authority started deploying sensors along the Colorado River in Texas decades ago to help track stream levels that could lead to potential floods and could obviously later cause more damage. And another way that the Internet of Things affects the government is when researchers attach GPS tags along with temperature and depth sensors on marine mammals. These tags allow researchers to track the animal wherever he or she may be, and this documents where and where they travel in search of food throughout the season. Moving on now, we have simply just one of the effects of the Internet of Things devices in government, as we see here, is the city of Los Angeles and many more cities where they have a lot of internet connected things, and simply it's just those streetlights in the intersections. Los Angeles has 145,000 streetlights, and it has 4,500 intersections that are being run with internet. And also there's something else that I realized and noticed is that some public schools are wanting to implement a radio frequency identification band that would automatically log their attendance for their students as they take their seats in a connected classroom. These bands are similar to the ones that some theme parks are already using to check in people into the rooms and rides, and this is in the works because the public schools want to reduce the amount of time that teachers take from their teaching time to do simple tasks such as take, attendance or distribute paperwork. It's something that they can use with the Internet of Things to help them out cut that time off. And so simply these are the effects that the devices have on law enforcement and in government. And now we're going to pass it off to Robert.
Internet of Things, Games, and Education. What changed? How has it helped? Augmented reality. Augmented reality allow people to experience gaming in a whole new way. So what is augmented reality? Augmented reality is where objects in real life are enhanced by computer generated information. One example of use of augmented reality in gaming is Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go was very popular back then in 2016, where people can go outside and catch Pokemon on their phone, interacting with the real world. Another game that it was created by the creators of Pokemon Go is called Ignis Prime. And Ignis Prime has to deal with like aliens and humans, and then you pick a side and you go to real places. Like, for example, you could go to the bar and then you try to win over that bar by, and the bar will act as a portal, and you get points if you capture it. And one more augmented reality game would be Zombies Run. And Zombies Run is a very popular game for people who like to run and exercise. Um, the more you run, the more resources you get to fight off zombies. You can build your base, and all these games interact with everyday life. So, what else has changed? Playing together without being together. Nowadays, we can play at home with our friends without our friends even having to be next to us. We connect to the internet. We we can now play on dedicated servers inside the game where we could play with our friends there as well. Another thing is now people can go to the casino and gamble away without actually going to the casino. From home, they could download an app that lets them play poker or anything like that, make transactions, interact with um, the host who's dealing the cards and whatnot. So, what has changed in online education? So, in recent years, due to COVID, we have shifted from in person to online video where we use Zoom, or I mean, some universities can use Zoom or whatever technology they use to do all the video work. We also shift. We also use a lot of Blackboard where we could get our notes. We could watch videos, share all the stuff we needed for our class, and turn in other online stuff that we need. Smart boards. The invention of smart boards allows for easier teaching and easier way of students to understand materials. Smart boards are always connected to the internet. It also helps people who are tactile learners and visual learners. They could watch videos on the smart board. They could interact by touching and moving around elements on the smart board. You could bring back your notes. If the teacher wanted to share notes, you could share the notes easily with the smart board, and also diagrams. There's also online resources that are available with smartboards, um, that it makes uh, easier access for students, and that could help them with their online education or their in-person education as well.
How the Internet of Things has made an impact on supply chain management and logistics. The days of companies relying on third-party logistics contractors for shipments of raw materials and delivery of products to customers or clients may be coming to an end. This portion of the presentation will look into how the Internet of Things has impacted the supply chain management and logistics industry, specifically how IoT has affected supply chain management, how IoT is utilized in supply chain management, and how the cloud has changed supply chain management through the Internet of Things devices and interconnectivity. And lastly, how the Internet of Things can optimize employee conditions. First, how Internet of Things is utilized in supply chain management. Internet of Things devices are typically deployed in supply chain management to monitor location, temperature, humidity, light levels, movement, and handling of company materials. Um, this could be all sorts of inventory, depending on the industry of the company. Through RFID chips, mobile sensors, and smartphones, it has become possible to see the route from source location to destination of an order, and is even possible to measure the condition of which the order was received in by a client. IoT devices have become important to this industry because it allows management to know where material goods are being stored, if the conditions are optimal for the goods, and allow for more leeway with unplanned incidents through real-time shipping and tracking, letting management know any issues may arise. And this can flatten any sort of costs that may be incurred from these issues, and can be dealt with quickly and efficiently. Next, we will discuss how the cloud has changed supply chain management through Internet of Things devices. Cloud computing has facilitated the growing usage of Internet of Things in supply chain management by alleviating infrastructure costs through contracting software as a service, in turn letting the company focus on operations such as forecasting and planning, which is allowing utilization of information uploaded to the cloud from a variety of sources, allows the analysis of individual tasks to be seen from a larger scope, enabling discovery of patterns and trends from previous quarters or years to plan for what to expect in the future. Also with logistics, through communication with devices that track shipments and inventory, it is possible to now automate inventory management and optimize routes for delivery. It also helps, Internet devices also helps with service and spare parts management. With the combination of cloud computing and Internet of Things equipment, such as vehicles, machinery can have routine maintenance and automatically determined from previous data, reducing downtime for equipment. It may also help with sourcing and procurement. The cloud has automated the computing and for the shipment and subscription of material goods the company may need monthly in order to produce the goods that they sell to make profits or achieve revenue goals. And lastly, how the Internet of Things is helping employees to do their jobs. The Internet of Things will ultimately help both the employer in reaching set goals as well as the employee in optimizing their assigned duties. For example, according to Tom Bray, a senior editor at J.J. Keller and Associates, a regulatory consulting firm, says that when many transportation companies switch to using electronic logging devices, also called ELDs, drivers are initially skeptical, but typically after 30 days of using a truck that has one of these electronic logging devices installed, uh, they won't take a truck that does not have one. The ELD helps the drivers in filling out required service regulation logbooks, get troubleshooting and service instruction, and they can also use the devices for entertainment during off hours. And that completes the